Hey, all you 3D devs out there, let's get into some 3D Studio Max. To do that, first I need to show you a couple little things that I need to do in this model right here. We're going to unwrap it real quick in a minute, but I want to show you maybe a little trick that maybe you missed when we were doing this earlier. I need to build a wall behind this and then build the back to the wall there. So what I usually do to make something like that happen is I usually just do a scale on this right here, and you'll see that it doesn't line up perfectly. That's perfect because I'm just going to go back to these move tool, move this up to here, move this over, double click on it and pull that off over here, like that. We come to the front, Alt X, Z, and then we'll get this edge over to here, and this edge over to here. Oops, this one needs to have two. Click. Like that. And then we just need to straighten this up. Pull that up. Pull this up closer. Go to the front. Sorry, Z. Grab that one and oh, I guess I did miss this one too. So grab that one, that one, that one, that one. Do a quick Z align. Maybe grab this one and do X align. And X align. And I know before what we did was we dragged this to there. I'm going to drag it this way first. Do this like so you can see what I'm looking at here. And then I'm going to drag from the top. I'm going to look and make sure I line this up pretty good because we'll just align it again in the Y when we're down here. And then shift drag it down. And we should have the interior faces, and we'll check that in a second, and I'll show you remember how you do that real quick. I'm going to take these guys right here. Actually, you know what? Let me take these guys and pull them up a little bit closer. These guys, pull them out a little bit further, and then grab all of them and just do a simple weld. And you see we have 230, so we need to go up a little bit more. I'll just go up till I see those suckers disappear. There we go. All right, so more or less it's the same thing. I mean, obviously, if you take a little bit more time, it'll be great. You can take these pieces if you want to use them. If they need to be down, you can bring it down there. If you want to do it fully airtight, you want to do a subdivision in here and all that stuff. But for now, the other thing to do is when you want to check and make sure you're looking at the right direction and everything's snapping right, just make sure you turn on backface call. It's actually the way I like to work usually, but just old school methodology. But you can either put this one, target well, down, and this one down if you want, or you can keep it cut all the way across. Either way. So now I've got the environment set up the way I want to have you guys do UV on it. So let's do that. First thing we need to do is there's three pieces in this UV that we were going to unwrap. So I'm going to take those pieces and separate them out. I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to say detach, and then we're going to name this post for now. I know I have a naming convention you guys can look up, and then say okay. And then this one too, we want the pillar to be separated too, so detach. We'll call this pillar for now, not pillar. My computer likes to make my keyboard stop working sometimes. All right, so now I have all three pieces. They're all separated out, and now we can start looking at unwrapping them. You don't have to do it this way, and when we get to the multi-sub, I'll show you how to do it without separating the pieces. But I wanted you guys just to play around with multi-sub. And remember, this is just getting you used to UV unwrapping. So I'm going to take one of these things. We'll start with the terrorist part here, and we'll say UV unwrap, and we'll open it up, and we'll say open up an editor. And you can have this set if you ask. If you want, I'll show you how you can make it set up so this always opens when you click on that button. But anyway, so I'm just going to grab everything, and you'll notice when I do that, it looks like I've just grabbed the ground. So that means there's something missing. Well, if we pull all the way back out, we can see there's everything. So everything that's in part of that right there, I'm going to go ahead and do quick unwrap. Remember, this is getting you used to it. I'm not trying to make you do it perfect yet. I want you to get used to the idea of what we're trying to do. I'm going to flatten it, say okay, and then I'm going to zoom in on this. If you push Z here, it does the same thing, and we can look at it. And one of the things we didn't do in the beginning here that I'll do right now is add a map to it real quick. And remember, I just showed you the easy map for now. I don't want you guys to go in there and do the full editor. So we're just going to use a checkerboard, and we're going to say by, let's say 10 by 10 even, and then we'll go up. And there you can see our checkerboard on there. And what we're looking for is all these pieces to be unwrapped the same side, all these checkers, okay? And it looks like they're about right. Now, I would eventually come in here and do some cleaning up. But for right now, again, I just want you to get used to UV unwrapping and doing quick answers to some easy solutions. We don't need this up anymore. So that's the first one done. Now we come to the second one. I need to get out of the subobject mode of UV unwrap, come over to the second one, put a UV unwrap on it, and do an open an editor. And then I can either just control A and it'll select all the pieces of this, or I can find them in here and do it that way. But since we already know the control A works, usually I just say, fine, I know I want everything, let's get it all here slapped in the middle. Flatten mapping real quick, pop, it'll flatten it out. So now here's all the pieces. If I don't like the way they're arranged, I can move them around, but you'll see that this piece is the same unwrap as all the way through. If I'm not looking to make sure this matches this, I'm just making sure this all matches together. So that means that these polygons at this point are all the same, okay? Means that they're all being mapped the same pixel density. So we'll get into changing that at another time, but for right now, we're gonna do it that way. Okay, keep pushing that button, my finger keeps doing its own walk in here. All right, now the last one, this one down here, and I'm going to go UV unwrap, and this is the one that I was telling you is a little bit of a dance. It can be. We're not going to actually do, I am going to come in here real quick and make sure I grab all and then do mapping, flat mapping, and pop. So I get all these in there. And you'll see that they work and they're all the same size. Everything's fine, but it's kind of a haphazard mess. So what I might do is just come in here and grab like the tube or the pillar part in general, and then come in here and say, instead of using the flat mapping to add for the final version, I'm going to come up here and use cylinder, and I'm going to put the cylinder in there, and you'll see that the cylinder has this virtual tube of where it's being used. You just need to make sure that's fit, and if you push fit, it'll flap down to there, and then if you look at it, it still looks a little bit short. Now, this is the problem with using these. They by default don't actually match the scale of the polygons, but match the scale instead of the object, or of the whole mapping surface, excuse me. So in this case, what I want to do real quick is scale this up. And I'm going to hold shift, and by the way, if you hold shift, it'll scale it evenly. And for right now, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to make sure it looks about right. I think all the squares look pretty even. It could be a little bit off, and I could dance with that. And I'll show you more specific ways to get that later. The cool part is that now that I've got that, these don't match anymore, and that's a problem. But let me clean up those a little bit too. Let's see if we can get these a little bit. That one's fine. Maybe this right here. Yeah, let's grab this one and that one. And what I'm looking at right here is this will show me what is attached to it by showing a blue edge. So we know that's attached, and then that's attached, and then we're just looking for blue sides here. Now we can move it up out of the way, or we'll just do it this way for these two, okay? So then I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to use the cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and leave it the way it is for now, turn it back off, and then grab the other one, which is at the top, which we know now is probably these guys. Yep. And these guys. Yep. And probably this little guy right here. And if we push F2, we can see how everything's unwrapped. Good. Go ahead and do the cylinder real quick, pop it out, get it out of the way. I could do the same thing for these guys. These guys may be actually okay, but you can see that when you do this to a cylinder, it does some weird stuff. So if you have those kind of slanty things, for right now, that's fine. I don't want to spend tons of time working on making these perfect. At this point, I just want you guys getting in there, like I said, and working on it. And I know I can just take this and see if I try something like a planar map. It may be a little bit better. And then turn off the planar map. I like to actually do it with the what I call the lightning bolt. Let me move you out of the way, come on. And the lightning bolt's right here. If I pop that, it does that. And what it is, when you have more than one thing selected, it will scale them evenly. So if I grab both those pieces real quick, let me turn on this button right here, makes you select the whole object, the whole element that's broken out here. So if I grab both those and then I push the lightning bolt, you'll see that they both kind of fit in there. Now they're fighting because they're both kind of slanted. So that may not be the best option. So I'll come back to here and do one, and then come over to here, oops, and do two. Now I have both those set up. I can move them out of the way just so I can see a little bit better, see what I got over here. That's the square sides. Those are okay. I can actually stitch them together and everything, but I'm not worried about that at this point. Again, we're just trying to get this all set up. So the cool thing that I was talking about is we can grab all this stuff right here, and we can come over to tools, and we can say pack UVs, and we can pick, if you want to rotate them, you want to fill holes, and say okay. And it will put these all to the same exact scale as they were to each other. So now look at all our squares are matching. Our seam is right there, but that's a fine seam. And we're done. So that's all there is to it. If you guys do this, that's your homework for Wednesday. And then you have to do a square. I'm gonna let you figure out the square or the cube with a more of a rectangular part. All right, and we'll talk to you soon.